solving equations. Not just equations, mind you, but equations that are called the Texas two-step equations. Texas, good old Texas two-step equations. Now, can anybody care to speculate why they're called two-step equations? You had to take a wild guess, Carter A.
They have 2 steps.
Yes, you need two steps to solve. Not just one, but 2. Now what that looks like is this. Here is our, for example, 3n plus 1 equals 16. Okay? 3n plus 1. And what you're asking for is what you are asking for is when you multiply 3 by what number, then add 1 to it, you get 16. And you might be able to do that in your head. Let's just talk about it before I tell you how you're going to do it. Let's talk about what it's going to look like. Let's do this. Next year, at the beginning of next year, you'll do this, but it'll say solve by inspection, which means just by looking at it. Start with this. If I cover this up and I say, okay, what number when you add 1 to it gives you 16? Wade? 15. So you know that this has to be 15. So now you say 3 times what number would give you 15? 5. So you know the answer, n actually equals 5. 5 times 3 is 15, 15 plus 1 is 16. Okay, and that's all well and good for this one, but if it's something really big, like, you know, I don't know, 5x minus 35 equals, you know, 5,275. Things start to get a little complicated there. Okay, so you don't want to have to rely on just looking at it. You want to follow these steps. And what these steps are called this. They are called this. You need to do what we call inverse operations. And another word for inverse would be opposite. I'll let you write that down and give you a little time for this to say something. What that means is this. You look at this equation and you say to yourself, what kind of an equation is that? Well, what mathematical operations do I see there? I see a plusing sign, which when you get 6th grade, usually we call that addition, right? What's the opposite of addition? Subtraction. Here I see multiplication, correct? What's the opposite of multiplication?
Division.
To solve this, you are going to use those opposite operations. So to solve this, you're going to actually, it's an addition and a multiplication equation, but to solve it, you're going to use subtraction and division. How about that, huh? And here's the way it looks like first. Okay, you do the opposites. Okay, the first thing you always start with is the addition and subtraction. It's kind of like the opposite of when you do order of operations. You start with that. And then the last thing you do is division or multiplication. And the fundamental rule, by the way, you will be solving equations for the rest of your life, so you might as well get used to this. It comes up forever. Okay, the one thing you have to remember with equations is this. What you do to one side, comma, you do to the other. And this is what I'll need to see on your paper from this point forward. I'm going to rewrite this over here so you can see it. 3n plus 1 equals 16. I start, your goal, you want to know what the letter n equals. So you want to separate the letter n from all this other stuff over here, so in the end you have n equaling some number. We know it should equal 5. Okay, in the end that's what we'll do. So what we do is this. We start with the addition subtraction stuff. I want to get rid of a plusing one, so I do the opposite and I subtract 1. What is 1 minus 1?
0.
Nothing. But this rule right here says that since I subtracted 1 from this side, I have to subtract 1 from this side. So now this equals 15. And my 3n is right there. Then, now I'm down to a multiplication problem, and the opposite of multiplication is division, and this is how I show that. I divide 3 by 3, which is what?
0.
No, it is not 0. 1. I'm left with 1n, which is what this is. We don't ever put the number 1 in front of letters because it just means the same thing. N and 1n are the same thing. But this rule here, what's this say? What you do to one side, you have to do the other. If I divided this side by 3, I also have to divide that by 3. And 15 divided by 3 is 5. There's no thinking like, you know, blah, 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 blah. As a matter of fact, did anybody write down that problem that I wrote down that I erased there?
Yeah.
What was it?
5x minus 35.
35 equals
5,275.
275. Following the same rules that we just went through, okay, it works like this. I want to get rid of a minusing 35. The opposite of minusing is adding, so opposite of subtracting. So I add 35 here, which makes you say, well, that's 70. It is not 70 because this is a negative 35, really is what it is. Negative 35 and a positive 35, they go away, they cancel each other out. But since I added 35 to this side, I have to add 35 to this side. And I end up with 5,000, well, I guess I should do it like this. 310, and 5x equals that. How do I get rid of the 5 in front of the x? This is multiplication. I think of the inverse operation or the opposite, which is divide by 5. I divide this by 5, I'm left with just my x. Again, it's a 1x, but we won't put the 1 there. I have to divide this by 5, and 5 goes into 5,310, what? 1062 times. The answer is 1,062. Isn't that handy? Isn't that sweet? How about this one? 2x minus 1 equals 9. 2x minus 1 equals 9. Go ahead and do that one for me. And I need to see this on your paper. No. You're not just writing down answers, you're not doing it in your head, you're writing down the equation, you're showing the inverse operations, you're showing what you did to one side, you do to the other side. And everybody is very. You got an answer out there? Shouldn't take you too long. Equations make the world go round. Tyler, you ended up with 5. Let's check it out and see. I get rid of a minusing 1 by doing the opposite. Subtracting 1, you add 1 to both sides. This goes away. There's nothing left there. You're still left with this 2x. 9 plus 1 is 10. 2x equals 10. Do the opposite of multiplication, which is division. Just put that line and that slash down there. 10 divided by 2 is 5. Problem with that? Everybody get that? How about one more? 7a plus 4 is 25. 7a plus 4 is 25. Seven a plus 4 is 25. Carter Westfall,
30.
30, that sounds
3.
good. How do you get rid of the adding 4 by subtracting 4? This is what it should look like on your paper. You're still left with the 7a, 25 minus 4 is 21. Divide by 7, divide by 7, a equals 3.